That letter only showed coordinates and a 10:40 p.m. time. And if I ignored it, I could still be mistaken for someone who followed it. I checked the envelope first. There was no recipient name, only 3 sorting number lines and 1 return code printed at the bottom. When I entered the coordinates on a map, the point was 12 minutes away on foot, shown as an empty lot with a single access path. That still bothered me. So I checked the entry camera. One courier was dropping more than 20 identical envelopes in a single pass. I viewed the spot from a distance, and it had 2 strips of reflective tape on the ground and 1 number tag tied to a tree. The cause was a bulk mail label shift by 1 line, and I reported the return code to confirm the sender and get the site cleared. If this happens, check the envelope and map first. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. When the same material keeps turning up at an excavation, the layer reading can go wrong, and even the dating can drift. On day 1, the context sheet already said repeated shell fragments. The strange part was that 3 separate squares produced almost the same material even at different depths. So they matched sieve results with bag labels, and by 2 p.m. the fragment color clustered into 1 tone. To check again, they cleaned the section wall and drew the layer line 1 more time. But the thin boundary expected in a natural deposit was missing, and the note only said uniform gray-brown silt. It could still have been chance, so they checked wear on the pieces and the mixed finds together. In the same bag, rounded shell fragments sat with pottery from different periods, making an original deposit less likely. The answer was not a natural layer, but a redeposited fill made when the ground had been leveled with material brought from elsewhere. So the quickest tip is to compare find spots and section photos on one sheet and suspect mixed fill first when the same material repeats widely. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. When one whole day in the star log is blank, it is often not erased at all. You need to compare it with the 3 days around it, or people can wrongly call it tampering or blame the gear. First, check the page numbers and the paper grain. If 12 surrounding pages run in order and there are no torn fibers, that points away from removal and closer to a page that was simply never written. Next, match the start traces. If the access sheet shows no 8 in the evening opening and the dome power marker still says off, the session likely never even started that night. Still, check whether the sky itself stopped the work. If that week shows cloud cover at 8 and humidity in the 90s 3 times, suspension becomes a stronger explanation than a missing entry. Finally, compare the side materials. If the sketch envelope is empty and the film box number skipped that day too, the stronger answer is not deletion, but the absence of any material to log. So the cause is usually a session never opened because bad weather and maintenance overlapped, and the fix is to compare the main log with access and power marks together. A quick tip is to check the 3 days around the blank date, one supporting record at a time. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. The direction of one shadow in a photo can make the shooting time look reversed. And that single mistake can shake both records and alibis. The file said the photo was taken at 2:10 in the afternoon, but the pole shadow was not short like noon and stretched down to the left. So the first step was saving one capture of the original info and one of the scene for comparison. Next, the same date and place were checked on a sun path map in 10-minute steps, and the 2 p.m. arrow pointed the other way. That meant the first recorded time was already questionable from the shadow direction alone. Even then, it was too early to conclude, so the ground slope and lens distortion were checked again. With a level guide turned on and 2 vertical poles used as references, the shadow looked about 1.7 times a person's height, far from a noon shot. Then the file record gave the real clue. The capture time had been stored in coordinated time, not local time, and the list showed a 5-hour 10-minute offset log. So the photo time was not false, the display standard was shifted. In the end, the thing that shook the case was not the shadow itself, but a missed time zone conversion, and the confusion cleared once the original time and sun direction were checked together. To try this yourself, start with one original file, one fixed object in the scene, and one time zone line in the metadata. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. A short line that appears only after restoration is not just a cool find, and you have to check whether a later hand got mixed in first. Miss that, and a 1000-year record can be misread as a workshop note. In similar cases, hidden lines first show up after unsewing or varnish removal. So the first check is simple. One pass with raking light and one ultraviolet shot to see whether the letters sit on the original layer. This is where the first result splits the story. If the strokes sit over the repair resin instead of under the crack network, the line was likely written much later than the excavation stage. You still do not stop there. The second check is to place the excavation photos next to the treatment log and match the date when that line suddenly appears for the first time. If it is absent from the first 12 photos and appears in only one macro shot after the cleaning test, that becomes evidence. The line starts to sound less like the artifact speaking and more like the first opening made during treatment. In the end, the cause is not always an ancient original, but a collision of inner surfaces, repair layers, and temporary notes exposed during treatment. The fix is to pair layer photos with log times, and the practical tip is to check the surface carrying the letters before trusting the sentence itself. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. This is the story of a vanished explorer's final voice log. And the stranger clue was not the noise, but silence repeating every 47 seconds. At first it looked like file damage, but after marking 6 silent blocks in the waveform editor, every gap landed around the same 47-second interval. So the field memo was checked next, and it noted slope entry at 7 minutes 17 seconds, exactly where the repeated silent pattern began. That was not the end. The battery log showed 3 low-voltage warnings starting at 8 minutes 4 seconds, and each warning lined up with the front edge of a silent block. Finally, the background track was isolated, and the same 2 metallic chirps appeared before every mute section. The equipment list also included an automatic rangefinder. In the end, it was not fear but a low-voltage device cycle that let the rangefinder create repeated interference, and reanalyzing the file narrowed the final route sharply. When you see a recording like this, note the repeating interval in the waveform first. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. This is a story about a magnetic anomaly repeating in one small area. If no one checks it, instruments can record completely wrong data. The first record repeated 3 times at the same coordinate. The team repeated measurements every 10 minutes using the same device. The value was about 20% higher than normal. One line called Anomaly Flag appeared automatically in the log, so they checked whether the device was faulty first. They moved the sensor 5 meters and measured again. The conclusion was simple. A buried metal mineral layer caused it, so always measure the same point twice with different distances. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe. Night Guard kept changing patrol time every night. The reason was a metallic sound heard at 2:40 in the early morning. The same memo appeared 12 times in the patrol log metallic friction sound noted. So the corridor microphone log was checked first. The audio waveform spiked exactly at 2:40. So the camera timeline was compared with the same time frame. No person appeared in the camera. Instead, the metal bracket of a wall display case moved slightly. The cause was the automatic ventilation system starting at night. Temperature change expanded the metal and created the sound. They changed patrol time and tightened the bracket again. If a similar sound appears, check equipment timer logs first. That's all for today's story. We'll be back every day with a new one. If you want to catch tomorrow's story too, please like and subscribe.